Will this adventure with the Ginyu still remain the perfect story? Or will things get a little buggy? Hey folks, MasakoX here. Ah yes, last year's April Fool what if. Something of a major request from the fandom actually. The Ginyu Force. This ragtag team from Freeza's squadron are the best he has to offer, aside from himself when he feels like it. But unlike the Tyrant, you get the feeling that despite their usual orders to make people's lives sad of course, they at least genuinely care for one another's safety. Yeah? You do get the feeling though that they are real friends and look out for each other in whatever scenario they're in, so they have some sort of compassion. When in the original one of them fell to the likes of Vegeta, okay, it was mostly Vegeta, they were really upset by it and wanted to avenge their friend. So, what if we decided to take them out of the Freeza Force and instead put them into the Dragon Team, give them autonomy to pursue their destiny, not only as fighters within the Dragon Team, but really embrace their own passions for dance choreography? What if they could turn good without penalty? You see, the beauty of April Fool What Ifs is that we are allowed to be a little more madcap with them. We don't have to stick too rigidly to the formula of our usual stories, and instead, we can be more surreal with them, or maybe bend the boundaries of Dragon Ball logic a little bit further, or usually a lot further than we could normally do. So, logic, not today! Thanks to our roundtable live streams, we got plenty of ideas, and us three really find them fascinating, and a good example of the wisdom of crowds. And this example of wisdom has generated a really fun story. Captain Ginyu has led his men to Earth. Even though he initially found it rough to come to terms with the fact that he wasn't part of Frieza's force anymore and had to actually be independent, but they all did well for it in the end, and even became somewhat famous on Earth for their actions. Their lives were rather made, in fact. With Goku as their leader and ordering them to live their lives as they want to see fit, whilst helping the team at the same time, the Force is actually better than ever, and have trained rather well. In the last part, the Ginyu Force did their best against Cell, and were able to provide some sort of a backup for the team, whilst the androids from Movie 7 were there as well, because hey, April Fool What If? Effectively, the B-Team androids were fighting our B-Team, so you better believe that there were plenty of action-packed moments for them. Cell even offered them mercy since he underestimated their potential, since their DNA wasn't majorly factored into his makeup. In fact, it was barely there, and he couldn't really gauge their true use. Oh, Cell, you grossly underestimate the power of friendship and teamwork. You will regret that soon enough. Now that the Cell games are set in motion, like the original, the Ginyu Force need to figure out what they can do during this time to remain relevant, and not just be sitting on the sidelines like everyone else except for Goku. After all, this squad does not sit back. They are a team of action and grace. Our Ginyu Force heroes don't really have that much time to train before the Cell games, and their power right now would not figure at all against the very well-defined jaw of perfect Cell. But luckily there is always the room of infinite, the hypertonic lion tamer, yeah. However, they can't all go in at once because remember, there is a 2-person limit at the time of the saga. But don't worry, Dende makes the room even more broken and convenient in the fullness of time. So they need to take turns, with Ginyu and Recoome going in first. All in all though, it takes about 3 full days for all of the members of the Force to have had a go, and Krillin going in as well to partner with Guldo to make up the numbers. To go through some pretty rigorous training as well, with Vegeta and Trunks then deciding to hop inside of it once everyone from the Ginyu Force was done. Guldo and Krillin found this time away from the others quite cathartic in fact, and appreciated each other's company more and more. Guldo then realised that a lot of his jerk-like behaviour stemmed from feeling like he also ran within the group. Even though he had a very useful power of time freezing, his overall battle power though was rather low in comparison to the others. He was a bit of a liability. If I wound up in a hairy situation, the others would have to bail me out. I wish I could just catch up a little so that I can be more self-reliant and less jerky, if you know what I mean. Krillin nodded and understood where he was coming from. I hear you, buddy. I sometimes feel like I've fallen behind, but that doesn't stop me from stepping up and helping where I can. After all, there's always something I can do to assist, and I'm sure that you have that trait too. Guldo nodded and felt a little better about this. So, they decided to pick up the pace of their training and give a nice little surprise for the rest of the squad. When Guldo and Krillin came out, the former looked a little trimmer and had the feeling of confidence exuding from his very aura. "Wow, Guldo!" exclaimed Jeice. "You look like you've done 1,000 laps around the yard! Nice work!" "You're still not as fat as me, but..." Jeice shoved Burter in the ribs. "But still, you look like you've had a good session. Let's see how you do, though." Guldo felt good. Usually there would be a full-on jibe from Burter and the rest of them, but now, not so much. Using the remaining days they had, the group is getting to grips with their respective increases in battle power, and are practicing some pretty advanced sync-up techniques to loosen up their sore muscles from all of that time in the Room of Spirit and Time. Granted, it had been very useful, but boy was it rough in there. Even though they were with friends and had strong moral characters, the solitude of the room was rather draining still, and to see the light of the sun right now was a very welcome relief. Thanks to his help with Guldo, Krillin is even invited to join them for further training, and to explain what he and the Green One had been up to when they were in there together. While the usual maneuvers are meant to be designed for 5 people working together, they're actually able to modify it a little bit by having 6. To be fair, I did think that one day we would add to our numbers, so I had a few routines in reserve for just such an occasion, said a rather smug Ginyu. Oh yes, Captain Ginyu prepares. And now, thanks to their extra training, they have pulled off some rather impressive moves, which attracts the interest of a certain android, understandably. Whilst most of the Dragon team were still unsure of whether to roll with 16 teaming up with them, the Ginyu Force were not the least bit hesitant about this, and in fact, were very welcome with this new ally, and took him in with open arms. Recoome was rather blown away with his appearance. "It's almost like Recoome is looking in the mirror." They probably understand how it feels to be mistrusted by their teammates. I mean, after all, it wasn't that long ago they were not being trusted by the Dragon team when they got here with Goku. They could probably sense that the artificial human might feel kind of guilty for letting his family down, and not being able to stop Cell from absorbing them himself. Could a full automaton, though, have feelings? Ginyu thought so. "Even though you are made of metal and wires, I can feel a strong urge of passion and sentiment within you. You are one of a kind, good sir, and we Ginyu Force members welcome those with uniquity at the forefront." And so, even though 16 couldn't really get stronger in the traditional sense, he can at least assist the group with his already decent power output and skill set. "Ha! I win the bet, Jeice," said Burter, the pair betting whether a robot would join the team one day. "You owe me a space soda." "Mate, they don't sell those here." "Oh, well, perhaps a heat tap will do." Before 16 could be fully ingratiated into the group, he still had further repairs and modifications to be made on him in order to make him truly battle ready and fully on side, truly expunging the remains of Jiro's programming from his system. Thankfully though, the repairs being done by Bulma and Dr. Brief seem to be showing positive results, or at least some of them, though he is still unaware that they took out the bomb from within him, just as a failsafe in case he did go rogue, but as we know, that's not a good thing. Finally, the day has come. The Cell games are upon our heroes. After seeing the Ginyu Force in its entirety, not only present, but also looking ready to fight in fact, Cell simply has to be ready with the remarks. "Oh, Goku! How cute! You brought your reliable bunch of intergalactic cheerleaders. Now this is what I call a proper sporting event." Ginyu scoffs at him. "Cell, we know what your game is. Don't try to intimidate us. Monsters like you are meant to be stopped, and we are here to stop you." Cell found this rather amusing, and was now feeling a little bit frisky after being goaded by Ginyu. "Oh, go on! Why not? I'm feeling curious. Ginyu, you may step up first. I'm in the mood for an appetizer." Jeice puts his hand in front of Ginyu and looks wary about this. "Captain, I wouldn't do it if I were you. This is obviously a ploy to try and get you riled up. Don't let him talk to you like that, boss." "Don't worry, Jeice. I very much know what I'm doing. This bug creature has to be dealt with by someone, and that someone shall be me." And so the fight between Perfect Cell and Ginyu starts. And at first, Ginyu isn't actually losing. Of course, the jolly green bug man is starting slowly, as Goku would, which allows the captain to land some punches and feel somewhat confident about his lot. But it's still not enough to do any serious damage, really. Regardless of this toying around with, Ginyu is not willing to give up that easily, as the perfect monstrosity is messing with him clearly. I know what you're doing, Cell. Fight like a warrior and not hold back. Finally, Cell decides to acquiesce, as he is starting to get a little bored with this slow pace, and then so starts to lash out at our favourite Special Force leader. But it seems that he anticipated that. Waiting for the right moment, Ginyu yells, "Change now!" And nothing happens, much to everyone's shock, including Ginyu's. That's usually supposed to work. Even the rest of his team are stunned. That's never happened before, muttered a shocked Recoome. No way, moaned Jeice. The captain's been gazumped. Cell starts to laugh at the captain. Tell me, Ginyu, did you ever try this on Freeza when you worked for him? Of course not. I wouldn't have dared at the time. Cell's smile widened. I thought so. And in your whole pathetic existence, did you ever consider that you may have never been able to do it? Did you honestly believe that someone as paranoid as Freeza would even let you near him to do it? If we knew that you were even capable of stealing his body in the first place. Cell touched his forehead. At the end of the day, I have his DNA. I know how he works. He and his father's genetic material is within my very cranium. And you are even less important than you think you are. And to add further insult to injury, Cell blasts Ginyu with a Milky Cannon. He at least was able to garner that technique from the data at least, leaving the originator barely alive and twitching on the floor. The rest of the squad is ready to attack the monster for what he did to their leader, but Goku stops them all. Don't! I'll deal with him. Master Goku? Trust me, I got this. Nobody else need get hurt. And so, Cell clashes with Goku, very much like in the original, despite Cell having some more techniques than he would have had in the original that he could garner from. But at the end of the day, Goku still gives up, which causes great disappointment to ripple throughout the entire ranks of the Z Fighters. And everyone is shocked even further when he sends Gohan in to do the job for him. As you may imagine, Gohan isn't doing that great, but the Ginyu Force's involvement in the story does help to ease the situation a little bit with the Cell Juniors, since, there are 4 extra fighters there to help. But alas, it seems that Cell still has the upper hand though. That is until Dr. Gero shows up! Halt! You're toying with them too much, Experiment! Gero, stammered Cell, not expecting to see his creator alive and well. Your purpose is to destroy Son Goku, Bio-Android. That is your primary directive. I'm sorry, Doctor. Cell flies in front of Gero and stands over the cybernetic scientist, dominating over him while looking menacingly at him. But I think I'm my own person now. Gero smirked and revealed a device hidden in his sleeve, which caused Cell to freeze in position. I knew that this would happen. The biological part of you is rebelling. I've had it up to here with my creations going rogue. Now, Cell, I need you to utter 2 words for me. As much as Cell tried to stop himself from saying said phrase, he was unable to, as he uttered, Change now! And then, for a brief moment, he was completely surprised to find himself in Gero's body. But Gero's Cell reacted first by taking him by the throat. You see, you might be completely immune to this technique when used by others, but that doesn't mean you can't use it against yourself. Now Cell, in Gero's body, started to frantically press the button of the device that he had, trying to freeze Gero's Cell and change things back like he'd done with him, but nothing happened. I'm sorry, my creation, but this works only once. And as such, Gero's Cell blew up his old body with a single blast. Cell's original consciousness was no more. Now Cell is just a body for Gero. Now, enough with this ridiculous tournament nonsense. Let's get to the brass tacks, as it were. 16, though, tries to catch Gero's Cell in this moment of change, but the scientist swiftly disables him with a quick movement. You stay out of this. And now, since this is no longer a tournament, everyone then powers up and attacks perfect Gero all at once. But he is simply too much for them, as the device has seemingly also boosted his power output even more. Like, this biomechanical being has been overclocked or something. He is able to kill Trunks, angry that a time traveler would dare to try and meddle with his plans, which then angers Vegeta greatly, but we know how that ends. He also takes great pleasure in torturing Goku, which causes Gohan to power up and attack him. But unlike Cell, Gero isn't interested in waking up Gohan's latent potential. He charges up an attack, ready to blast Gohan into pieces, and launches it at him. But something stops it. It's Guldo's time freeze. The little green alien stands in between Gohan and the blast. All of this trying to keep the attack from moving any further. But as we know, Cell's body also knows how to do this, so they are now both struggling to assume control of the temporal technique. Guldo knows what he has to do though, and kicks Gohan out of the way of the blast. When the time freeze breaks, Gohan sees a powerful blast, almost obliterating Guldo there and then. The last words he utters before dying are, I hope I'm not a jerk anymore. Seeing that, as well as his father being beaten into a pulp, causes Gohan to explode in rage and turn Super Saiyan 2. He starts to completely dominate the opponent, much to Gero's shock. He beats 18 out of his stomach, but unlike Cell, Gero has very strong survival instincts. He tries to plead with the Dragon team, telling them that they can use him, that he can improve the human lot through innovation and invention, especially with this magnificent body. But Gohan had had enough, and simply vaporizes the scientist without mercy. After the dust settles, Gero is no more. It takes a while for our heroes to realize that they had won, but they do recover. Goku survives, and everyone, even Vegeta, seems moved by Guldo's selfless act. 16 gets reactivated and gets invited into the Force on a full-time basis. Guldo, well, when he's revived, the captain gives him an internal promotion, making him effectively the third in command. Trunks bids farewell to everyone and returns to his future, ultimately making peace with Vegeta, who then decides to train on with Kakarot some more since he's still around. The Ginyus are finally fully accepted by the Dragon team as proper members. But for now, they decided that they needed a little vacation. That would be nice, as they take 16 to see some natural beauties of the world. Jeice heard that Australia was particularly beautiful at this time of year. Oh boy. Still though, don't worry, this isn't the end. Their adventures will continue, as there are new threats lurking in the future. As that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Do you like how Android 16 is being used in this story? Will Guldo truly stop being a jerk? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!